Hey everybody, I am in Orlando, Florida at the North America Build Conference with 1,000 plus leaders from all over North America, pastors, church planters, local church staff, campus missionaries, all kinds of leaders. We were off to a great start last night, and I'm reading Psalm 18 this morning, and it is packed full of really what it means to think like a leader. We're looking at David, and the beginning of Psalm 18 is that very familiar passage about the Lord being my strength and my rock and my fortress and my deliverer and my God, and all of these descriptions of God and what he does. And I don't know that I've really thought that deeply about the second half of that psalm. But what in the midst of God being all of this for David and for all of us, in verse 17 of Psalm 18. This is something familiar to all leaders. It says this: He rescued me from my strong enemy and from those who hated me, for they were too mighty for me. And David's describing a situation that leaders are going to feel at some point or another in our life of leadership. It says, first of all, there's a enemy we're rescued from, and he says, my strong enemy. This is not like the number 1 seed playing the number 16 seed that barely got in the tournament, a weak opponent. This is a strong enemy. He describes his enemy as strong. Secondly, he says, from those who hated me. Not only was this enemy powerful, but this was very personal. There was a hatred. There was not like a mercenary. This was something that was directed at David. And then finally it says, for they were too mighty for me. So this enemy David describes that he's rescued from, this situation, it was a powerful enemy, personal enemy, and an impossible enemy. It was powerful, personal, and an impossible situation. But he says, God rescued me. And all of us at some point face something that's powerful, personal, and impossible. Too strong, too big. This is over my pay grade. This is beyond my wisdom, beyond my experience, beyond my knowledge, beyond my training, beyond my budget, beyond the connections I have to make things happen. This is beyond me, too strong for me. So what happens? It says, the Lord, verse 18, was my support. So in the midst of something that was powerful, personal, impossible, beyond David's ability, God supported him. But what does support look like? And the rest of this psalm sort of fleshes out. He says, the Lord supported me. The Lord was my support. We want to think like a leader when we get in those situations that are too big for us, too strong for us, too complicated for us, too expensive for us, too difficult for us to actually deal with or resolve or solve. We have to trust God to be our support. But what does it look like? First, it says in verse 19, he rescued me. And that seems like a simple thought, that God rescues us. We get in situations as leaders. Maybe it was a bad decision. Maybe it was immaturity. Maybe we did everything right and someone else caused the problem, but we get in problems and we need divine rescue. Watch what David says. This is so important if we're trusting God to rescue us out of any situation. What he says is, he rescued me because he delighted in me. Sometimes we think that if we delight in the Lord, things will turn out. That if we love him, then things will turn out. No. God rescued David because God delighted in David. God rescued David because God loved David. God rescued David because God faith, not because David loved God, not because David was faithful to God, not because David delighted in the Lord, not because David did everything right. God rescues not because we love and we're right and we're good. God rescues because he loves, because he's right, because he's good. So when we think we need rescue from God against a situation that is above our pay grade, bigger than us, don't think it depends on human faithfulness. It depends on divine faithfulness, not on human capacity, but on God's capacity. All right. Secondly, it says, not only did he rescue, number 2 is in verse 24. What does it look like when God supports us in these difficult times? Number 1, he rescues us because of his delight in us. Number 2, So the Lord has rewarded me. Not only rescues, but God reward. It's like the parent who pulls their kid out of some situation and then rewards them with ice cream, pulls them out of a whatever it is, and then it's not just the rescue, but it's something added to that. And that's how our God is. He not only rescues, he rewards in those impossible situations. And then number 3, verse 39, this is David describing what God did for him. He's not talking about what he did for God, but what God did for him. If you want to think like a leader, think about what God does for you, not what you do for God. Think about all the things that God rewards us with, not what we do to somehow think we earn those rewards. So verse 39, here's number 3, for you equipped me with strength for the battle. Equipped with strength for the battle. God rescues, God rewards, and then God equips. What's interesting here is he's not setting the situation where there are no more battles. He rescued it from a battle. It didn't say, okay, I'll make sure there's never a battle again. I'll make sure there are no strong enemies. I'll make sure there are no impossible situations. No. He rescues him, and then he equips him with strength for the next battle. So whatever God rescues us from, the strong enemy, the personal enemy, the difficult and impossible situation, is probably going to happen again, maybe not exactly the same, but another situation where there's a powerful enemy that really hates you and that is way above your capacity. God equips us with strength, so next time, maybe we don't need to be rescued. I know that's not a happy thought for a lot of leaders, that there will just be another battle, but there will. That's reality. But the good news is God supports us by strengthening us for the next battle. And then finally, he says in verse 43, and this is something that all leaders face and all leaders deal with, and until we're in a place of leadership of really leading people, we don't really understand why this one matters. So yes, I understand about God rescuing and rewarding and equipping for the next battle, but this next one, verse 43, you delivered me from strife with the people. And sometimes strife with the people we're called to work with, sometimes strife among the team, sometimes strife among the different leaders that we work with. Sometimes that is more difficult for a leader to deal with than even the verse 17, strong enemy, those who hate us, those too mighty for us. Sometimes internal strife is even worse. But he delivers us even from that. So the conclusion of this, when we get to the end of this psalm, here's what David says after declaring what God does for him. He's in a difficult situation. So often David was in life and death situations, and he declares what God does for him, and that God rescues, God equips, God rewards, God delivers. So then his response is this, verse 49, for this I will praise you, O Lord, among the nations, and sing to your name. Because of all God did, it results in praise. Verse 50, great salvation he brings to his king and shows steadfast love to his anointed, to David and his offspring. So, difficult situations, strong enemies, people who hate us and hate what we do, situations that are way beyond our ability, strength, education, equipping, experience. It is a normal part of leadership, but we can trust God and count on God's support. Then we respond in praise, and it's praise among the nations. And really, the life of a leader is not about making things happen. It's about responding to who God is and what God does. So think like a leader, think about God, who he is, and what he does.